what happened not only overall, but there are separate graphs in that paper for different parts of the world, so that if you go to the poles, for instance, if you get more low cloud at the poles, that will indeed, quite right, because of the long wave effect that is mentioned by Dr. Lambert, cause actually a slight warming there. But the overall effect of a reduction in cloud cover, and there's no doubt about this, and that's what she's saying in her paper, there's no point in anyone trying to pretend otherwise, is that you will get more of the sunlight reaching the surface and causing the temperature to increase. And you can therefore use this global figure. I've circulated Pinker's paper to several mathematicians around the world, and one of them, as I have said, came back with a detailed calculation based on having read Dr. Pinker's paper, suggesting that my evaluation of climate sensitivity here is, if anything, an underestimate. And that is from mathematicians who fully understand what Dr. Pinker is saying. So I would say that is still a very good instance of a climate sensitivity demonstration, which raises certainly some questions about what the true climate sensitivity is. There are other tests that have been done. You're looking at a graph now, for instance, of a paper done by Ben Santer of the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. He was the one who rewrote, single-handed, the 1995 IPCC report. It previously said there was no discernible human influence on global temperature. It said that 5 times. It said we don't even know when we're going to find one. And he single-handed rewrote it and said, well, now there is a discernible human influence on climate. And he also produced this paper in which he tried to show that at altitude in the tropics, there is a hotspot where you get 3 times as much warming as you get at the surface, if and only if it is anthropogenic greenhouse gas warming that's causing the problem. Short wave. And that was printed in the IPCC's latest report, and indeed various modelers found that they all predicted the same thing. That's what they predicted. But here is what was actually found. That's just one of many data sets we could use. And there is only one data set that does show that there might be this tropical hotspot, without which you can't get much in the way of global warming from adding CO2 to the atmosphere. But that's a defective data set, and it's the only one that Santer uses in his paper of 2008, trying to refute this result. So once again, we have another demonstration that climate sensitivity is low. We've already seen also the Lindzen and Choi paper disputed by another of the ClimateGate emailers along with Santer. In this case, it was Kevin Trenberth and his colleagues. And they say that no, if you just change the start dates and end dates of his calculations, you get a different result. But Professor Lindzen is now working on an updated paper. This is how these processes go on. But what I'm saying here is that there is paper after paper after paper after paper by different methods in the scientific literature, all establishing by measurement, not by modeling, but by measurement of real-world phenomena, that climate sensitivity is low. And therefore, what I'm saying is there is at least serious doubt as to climate sensitivity. We can see the UN's models did not forecast 15 years without any global warming. They didn't. They all said it should be going up at 0.2 Celsius per decade, and it isn't. So we're already seeing a huge departure from the IPCC's projections, and the IPCC has had to revise those projections downwards and downwards and downwards again, as the temperatures simply fail to respond as the IPCC says they will, but do respond as a low climate sensitivity evaluation says they will. So my conclusion is that there is no sound scientific basis for concluding that global warming is a global crisis or that we are in any way endangering the planet, and it is time instead to address real environmental problems, which at a fraction of the money we're wasting on this one could be solved. Deforestation, overfishing, and the intrusion of humanity into the fragile habitats of rare and protected species. and the worms in the gut that afflict 1/3 of the population, the diseases that afflict the tropical world, not because it's tropical, but because they haven't got the most elementary healthcare, which could be quite cheaply provided. So there is a huge opportunity cost in wasting our time on this global warming rubbish for now. We have the time to wait and see which way it goes. Even if nobody implemented Copenhagen, the temperature would increase over the next 10 years by less than 1/4 of a Celsius degree. Let us wait and spend the money in the meantime on lifting the poor out of the poverty in which at the moment we so lamentably leave them.
Well done. Well, I think that may I, on your behalf, thank you, Dr. Lambert, and that is a significant vote of thanks to you because Lord Monckton's been in this country for some time. We have not been able to sponsor a debate anywhere, and you've put your head up and you've come here today and shared your scholarship with us, and we're very grateful for that. It is a sad It is a sad indictment of our proclamation about our belief in the freedom of speech that we actually, rather than want to hear alternative views, tend to want to deny the expression of them. Those people who have been the architects of a very draconian piece of legislation, 11 bills, 715 pages before the National Parliament, have persistently refused to come onto my program to suffer any kind of questioning at all. And yet when you see what the consequences of that might be, and as we've seen today, the disturbing variation in viewpoints that exists, that's healthy, of course, and in that kind of environment, no one should be running in the most precipitate way to impose upon a nation a piece of legislation that they don't understand, which has never been explained to them, and the consequences of which may well be very significant and very severe. So this has been a pioneering initiative today. I do want to thank all the people behind the scenes, and there are people here today, families who've put their money on the line in order that places like this can be booked out. This doesn't come cheaply. And, well, it doesn't, and it's awful to think that, you know, we have to do this kind of thing. I thank you for coming. Otherwise, we'd be like waiting for Godot, talking to ourselves, and that's not necessarily a very healthy thing to do. And to you, Lord Monckton, in particular, because you have been the sponsor of the debate, in the sense that it's your presence here you've been the architect of getting ideas together, getting people together, mobilising forums and prompting people like Tim to say, well, come on, let's have a debate. The only person, I might add, who has said that. We owe a deep, deep sense of debt to you for the scholarship you've given us, for the energy you've provided. It's been unrelenting. Wherever he's been asked to go, Lord Monckton has said yes. Wherever there was an opportunity to speak, he said yes. Where anyone wanted to take questions, he was actually on late night radio last night, and as you know, with a maximum audience around the country of about 40,000 people, taking questions till I think about 1:10 this morning, because he believes it's important for these viewpoints to be heard and to be shared. It's unfortunate that those people who are the architects of government in this country don't want to know about it. And indeed, I'll tell you a little story, which Lord Monckton doesn't know I know, and Tim, you'd be interested in this. He was here, Lord Monckton was here for Australia Day. My informants tell me that he found himself, rather self-consciously, in an Australia Day, a big Australia Day gig here in town where all the heavyweights arrived, premiers and leaders of the nation and whatever. When this man arrived in the scene, in the room, he was treated as some sort of pariah, and accusatory comments were made as to, why have you brought this person here? What is this going to do to my reputation if I'm seen talking to this man? As if you're going to get hydrophobia or scabies or something as a result of being involved. So I want you to know that we underappreciate that you've endured a lot of this very, very unfair comment. Much of it's personal. When the comment is personal, you know that the substance of the debate is pretty shallow. And so today we've been able to share all of us, Tim, infinitely better. Whether you've changed any viewpoints or whether Lord Monckton has, who knows. But at least we go back with a healthy appreciation of the fact that exchanges of views like this are very, very important, and we hope that we can sponsor more of them. It oughtn't to be our responsibility to do this, mind you. That ought to be the responsibility of government to see that the best possible conduits towards information are available to everybody. And at the moment, of course, all we've got is this awful atmosphere of suppression, and we'll push on and we'll push ahead. and there's no health, and there's no good governance in any of that. To both of these people today, would you please reward them as the only way we know, with a very, very warm, to both of you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, my lord.
Thank you very much. Well done.